Hey guys, it's Elena. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I annotate my books. I've been meaning to make this video for a while. How I used to annotate is drastically different between how I annotate now. I was like, you know what, I want to make a sit-down video and talk to you guys all about how I annotate, why I annotate, what has changed in between this annotations to this annotations. And yeah, so I'm gonna jump right in, and I think I'm gonna start with the difference between the two. This is how I used to annotate. There's Six of Crows, for example. So as you can see, they're really neon colors. The tabs stick out quite a lot. Compare that to how I annotate now. Kiss the Sky here, even though it has the ugly cover. As you can see, this book is mainly like blue, white, light colors. So I decided to go with a blue color scheme. That I feel like is the real big thing that changed. And as for what the tabs mean, how I used to annotate, I used to just have a key that would go in every single book that I decided to annotate. Okay, so this is a little bit different. I have some more examples here, but this I just put a post-it note and I put what the colors mean. I would use this key for every single book that I decided to annotate. So all these books here, besides the Throne of Glass books at the bottom here, because they're fantasy, they all have the same colors and the meanings to them. As for now, I direct the annotations and what they mean more towards the book. So if it has dual point of view, like Kiss the Sky does, there's obviously going to be a tab for both Rose and one tab for Connor. Obviously this is a bigger book and it has a lot of like a found family aspect to it, so put one for some of the other characters as well. Comparing these two books, you can tell they're very different. As you see, the tabs in the new ones are really flush against the pages, whereas this ones, they stick out quite a lot. And obviously the neon bright tabs. Those are just a few examples, and now I'm going to talk to you guys why I annotate. The reason why I love to annotate is because it gets me more engrossed in the story and in the characters, and I really feel like I get more of a deeper connection to the book and or the characters while I'm reading it and annotating it. If there's a character that I really despise and writing a little "you made me angry" or "I hate you," just a little comment, those are one of my favorite things to do when I'm annotating, is the commentary. I would say like half of my annotations are just commentary. Just the little things, just because I write down what's going on in my head. So if I don't like a scene, I'm gonna write on the side, "I hated this," or "I didn't like this." Or on the flip side of that, if I loved a scene, I'm gonna be like, "Oh my god, I love this scene so much." Most of the time, if I really like a scene, I'll actually write like a comment rather than just a commentary. I love being able to go back through a book and go through all my favorite quotes, all my favorite moments. I was actually just doing this the other day with the Throne of Glass series because I really want to reread that series soon. And going back through my annotations to some of those books brought tears to my eyes because I love that series so much and the characters mean so much to me. Even when I underlined or highlighted the smallest thing, it hit my heart. I just remember reading it. I remember falling in love with it. And that's one of my favorite things and why I annotate. So it just makes the experience more enjoyable only if I'm like loving the book or I know I'm gonna love the book. And also being able to talk about books. I talk about books here on YouTube, and I also write some reviews on Instagram and Goodreads as well. Being able to have tabs to look back on. I forgot about something, I can go back and like, okay, let me see. Oh, that's right, that happened. That's something I need to talk about. As for things I end up annotating, it's literally just moments that I love, moments that I think are important to me or the characters or where the story is going. One thing that I do while reading kind of any book, but mostly a book that I'm annotating, every single book has a standout quote that stands out among the rest. And while I'm annotating or while just reading a book in general, I always love to find and pinpoint that certain quote that makes the book. So obviously a big example of that is in A Court of Mist and Fury, the famous line that is, "To the people who look up to the stars and the dreams that are answered." I think that's right. Actually, I don't even know where it is. Oh, duh. I dog-eared the page. Don't be mad at me. I underlined it, but this book is how I used to annotate, so this needs to get updated. "To the people who look up to the stars and wish, to the stars who listen and the dreams that are answered." That is the famous quote that makes this book stand out among the rest. It's the quote that made this book popular. It's the quote that brings this whole book together. And, you know, while I'm reading, I always love to find a quote like that. I love this book. She's my baby. I don't feel like putting that back up right now, so she's gonna go on display because I love her. Now moving on, how I annotate and what I annotate. So for my tabs, like I said earlier, The tabbing system I used to have is a lot different from what I have now. Pink was for romance or scenes that I love. Orange was for funny. Yellow, shocking. Green, favorite quotes. Blue, sad. Dark purple, important information or like world building stuff. And purple is relatable. For what I annotate now, it is more strictly based on the book. So for Vicious, this is dual point of view. So obviously I have one for each of the characters. Something I've just recently started doing, which I don't know how I ever didn't do this in my books, finally put a general tab. There are so many moments I'm like, I want to annotate this, but it doesn't fit in any of the other categories. Something that I've always stuck with is things that I like and quotes. So those are the main two that I have stuck with. I usually just put it at the top here or I'll put it down here. It really just depends. What I've recently been doing is putting the tabs on top of what it is. That's just something I've recently been doing. I don't know if I'm going to stick with that or not. And if I'm reading a big fantasy series or just a big fantasy book in general, I will also have a world building tab as well. So just a review as some of the things that I tab are moments that I love, quotes. I have a generals tab, world building tab if it's a fantasy book, and then if it's dual point of view, I have one for each of the characters. Something that I used to be so worried about when annotating or when I just started annotating is, what if I started a book and I annotated it and I end up not liking it, or halfway through I'm like, I don't really want to annotate this anymore, or flip that around if I'm like, I don't want to annotate this or I only have a couple annotations, and then I either end up loving it or halfway through I'm like, I want to annotate this, but I always got so worried for some reason that I would have to like go through and like reread the whole entire book to annotate those certain spots. And I have a perfect example of this. I originally read the Throne of Glass series like 3-4 years ago. I was on the bench about wanting to annotate it because I wasn't sure how I was gonna like it. The first 3 Throne of Glass books have like a couple annotations in them, and Airfire is where I was like, you know what, I am fully on to wanting to annotate this. And you can see that. You can see where in the book I was like, you know what, I have fully decided in the middle of the book, which I was so scared to do, but I was like, I'm just gonna do it. So yeah, so don't be scared. I don't know why I always got scared that I was gonna like ruin the experience for me, to just either start annotating in the middle of the book or add a tab in the middle of the book. The whole point of annotating is your experience, how you experience it. If there's stuff that you really like, then just add it. If you don't feel like annotating anymore and you're halfway through, then stop annotating. It does not hurt at all to add or get rid of things that if it's going to take the enjoyment out of you while you're reading it. One of the big things that I do in my books, I kind of left off the highlighting. I used to highlight all the time, but I just really don't. I don't know, I just don't really do it a lot unless it is something that I absolutely love. I will do it. Like in Powerless, there are like a couple quotes that I had to go back and highlight with my purple highlighter because I just love them so much. But most of the time I either underline or I bracket things. So as you can see on this page, there is brackets between this paragraph. So what the brackets mean, anything that I like, or if it's a big paragraph and I really like it, but it's not a standout quote. So if it's a quote, then I will underline it. But if it's a couple sentences or just something I think that's important, something that somebody said that I don't want to underline, the brackets are for things that I really like or something that I think is important, and it just helps me like keep the lines together so I know what I'm talking about if I write something on the side or I'm just bracketing like a section because I think it's really important. As for what I decide to underline, it's also the same thing, just when it's only like a sentence or like 2 sentences. If it's a quote that I really like, I like something somebody said, a little piece of description, I'm like, oh, I really like that. Pretty much the difference between the two is underlining are for things that I absolutely adore and I really like, or for smaller things that I want to underline. As for brackets are more for bigger chunks of text. That's really the main difference, because if it's a passage that I absolutely adore, I will go through and underline every single thing, but I much rather bracket it just because it's honestly easier. Lastly, going back to my tabbing system, again, I talked about what the tabs are for. And as for the colors, it goes off of what the cover of the book looks like. So because the sky here, obviously, like I said, the colors, we got the blue and the white and the light colors. So obviously the colors are light blue, dark blue. That's how I choose what colors to use. And lastly, going down to what I actually use to annotate, I also use the Pilot G2 pen. I use this in the 0.7 size, which I feel like might be a little bit big, but I love it. I think it works perfectly. It doesn't bleed through unless the pages are really thin, but just using it in any other book where the pages are like the regular thickness, it ends up working really well. As for the tabs, these are the tabs that I use. I just got this pack off of Amazon. I also have some more in my dorm that I don't have with me at the moment. I love these tabs. These tabs are amazing. I love how it has like a ruler, and then this you can like put in like a, I don't know, like a binder or a notebook. They are transparent, but some of them are a little bit darker than others. So, and this just here, I use a really dark color for, see, you can't even see what's underneath it. You have to make sure you kind of put it out of the way because, you know, you can't even see underneath the words. So this is a good page of an annotated page. So what is happening in this, I have everything. I don't know why I didn't just show you this as my example. We have some underlining going on here. We have some bracketing in the top corner here. And then we obviously have some commentary on the sides here. So obviously there was something I needed to say. Usually what I write on the sides here are thoughts about the book. I sometimes put predictions of what's going to happen or what's going to happen to a certain character. I also, like I said, I just put commentary. If I really liked it, I'll be like, wait, uh-oh, yeah, here's one. So at the end of this, I put uh-oh. I also circle some words, so if a word it kind of like sticks out along the rest of them. This one I highlighted Eli's name because in that moment it was really important. It really just depends on what I choose to circle. Sometimes there are things that I should circle and I just don't do it because I don't want to. Sometimes I just circle things even if they have no meaning. It's really a personal preference if you feel like doing it or not. And then the last two things that I use, I don't actually have with me physically right now. Sometimes, like I said, if I'm really loving it, if there's that quote that stands out among the rest, the one that I've been looking for, quote that I've been looking for, I will inevitably highlight it. Usually that highlight goes off of what the color of the book is, but for Powerless, like I said earlier, there's lots of purple and black, so like all my tabs are like different shades of purple, and the highlights that are in there are in a purple highlighter. The last thing that I use, and I only use this if I have something to say, if there's a thought that I need to jot this down but I don't want it to like take up the whole entire page, what I will do is I will use a post-it note. So we see here, I have a post-it note, and this is a theory. So I had a theory about something, either about a character, how the book was going to end, something that might happen throughout the book. I have another one here. We have one at the end here as well. This is actually one of my most heavily annotated books, which is so crazy. So yeah, I just think annotating is a big personal preference thing. I don't really think you don't have to compare your annotations to others. And even if those thoughts are little commentaries like OMG or uh-oh or ooh, like the amount of times that those little commentaries are on my books, it's a lot. And that doesn't make me less of a reader. So I think I hit all the points on how I annotate, why I annotate, what I use. So I hope this helped you guys out in some way or another. I remember when I started annotating, I probably looked up and watched nearly every single video that was out there. How do I annotate? How do I choose if I underline things, if I highlight things? I think it all comes down to personal preference. If you are enjoying the book and you don't feel like annotating, don't annotate it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, morning, night, wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you guys in the next one.